Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Dennis. So today we're going to take the Rock Elite. We're going to install it, but before we do that, we're going to start with the 5600X stock cooler. We're going to take the temps so we can compare it with the new cooler we're going to put on. So that's going to be Be Quiet's Rock Elite. Alright, so we're going to put that on afterward. We'll do the temps first, then we're going to swap it out. I'll show you how to install it, and then we're going to do the temperatures afterward and see how much of an improvement there is over the stock cooler. I'm expecting there should be quite a bit, but I guess we'll find out. Here we go. Okay, so this is the system I'm going to remove the stock cooler from, but first let's get on to the temps. The noise you hear in the background is my 3D printer going away printing Christmas trees, so it is the season. So don't worry about that too much. Let's get on with what's important, and that's the temps for the stock cooler. Okay, so I've downloaded AIDA64 Extreme. This is a trial version. I'm going to hit the start button right down here. We're going to let it run for 6 minutes and see what we get. But right now we're using 1% and we're sitting at idle anywhere from 37 to 41. Let's start her up, and we'll come back when it's done and just see what the temps are. So we've popped up to 100% utilization, and then it hits at 86 degrees right off the bat. So this has been running for about a minute, almost 2 minutes actually. But you can see that 86 degrees is, it's okay. It's not gonna it's not like out of the ordinary that it can run like that. But certainly not where I want to stay. So once we install the other CPU cooler, I expect that'll drop drastically. So keep that in mind. 85, 86, that's where we're hitting our max at right now. We'll come back again, like I say, at the about 6 minute mark and just see what we've got to. Alright, we're at the 6 minute 22 seconds. And yeah, 87 is where we stayed at. So the CPU doesn't get that hot, but we're definitely getting up there with the stock cooler, because it's not a very capable cooler. I mean, it certainly does the job, and you know, like I say, when you're gaming, it's not going to get that high even, so you're probably going to be okay to use it. But let's get on. Let's do the install of the other one, and then we'll come back. We'll do the temps for the Rock Elite. Rock Elite. I can't talk today, folks. Sorry about that. And yeah, we'll see how it performs. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is just mention this backplate. So this backplate here, when you loosen the screws and the brackets on the other side, which you will need to do, this could fall. In fact, if you take all 4 of them out, or both brackets, it could fall down in here, and that could cause you all kinds of grief. So I'm going to show you an easy way to do that when we install it. Alright, so we're going to take all these off, and when we install the stock cooler, you don't use the brackets. Now, I always thought that was kind of ridiculous, but because there's no brackets there, we're going to have to make sure we have the other bracket ready to go on to hold it in place so you don't lose it and trying to fish it out of this case, and that could be a real problem. So I'm going to undo the first two. The only way we can do it actually is probably just to just hold it in the back and probably take it off till we put the other brackets on, secure it at least on the top, and then we'll put the other one on the bottom. So that's what we're going to do right now. And all it is just these 4 screws here. We're just going to take it off, and we'll take that off. But in the meantime, we're just going to have to make sure we secure the back plate so it doesn't fall, and then we have to fish and fight to retrieve it. Okay, so I took the 4 screws out. You have to support it. Now, what I did after is I'm just resting on a graphics card. You can do that or not. It doesn't really hurt nothing. There's not a lot of weight to this CPU cooler. Alright, you can see the thermal paste was very evenly applied and on there. So now you're just going to unplug it. Okay, just remove it. And that's it. Now, you can clean this off and keep it if you ever find yourself in need of a CPU cooler and don't have one. But yeah, so I'm going to clean this off, and then we're going to put everything back on. Here's our back plate. Okay, so that's what was on the back. And we are going to need to use that when we do the install. So we're going to start with that. We're going to put the brackets on and we're going to go through and show you everything. Okay, so like I said, if you watched the other video, if you didn't, AMD is all separated. So everything you're going to need is in a little package here. So you're going to take it out. You're going to have your brackets and your screws and your spacers. That's it. That's all you're going to need. You're going to put them in here and you're going to go from there. So the cooler itself, of course, is here. This is magnetic. You have to kind of pop your finger in here to remove this and take it off. And the reason you're going to want to take it off, because this fan is kind of just setting in there, so you're going to need to take it off. Now, it's a little bit of a trick to get that out of there, so be patient with it. It locks in pretty good, so just take your time and it'll pull out. Now, the best method I found is just go down here, push up on it, and this whole thing is going to come out. All right, so you got your PWM cable here for your fan. You're going to have your other fan connect here, and you have your adjustable RGB here. All right, so we're going to set that aside for now. And of course, one thing you need to know is this is going to all light up, and you have some plastic on here. Make sure you take that off, or you can take it off when you're done. It'll just peel off. Oh, I scratched it. Shouldn't scratch that easy, but it did. All right, so we're going to set that up here, and we're going to continue. So like I say, I'm going to clean off the thermal paste first. I'm going to get it all ready. Don't forget with your CPU cooler from Be Quiet that you have to take this off. So don't forget to peel this off. Otherwise your temperatures will be horrible. All right, backplate's going to go back on after that. But first, what I do recommend is take this, set it down so it's not up here. But only after you do put the backplate on with your first bracket. The reason being is once you've secured it, then you can set it down and it makes it easier to work with. Okay, so what I wanted to do so I could show you is you need to have the backplate. All right, so the backplate is back there, and I put this in here just to hold it in place. You also have to make sure that this, when you have this, that is pointing in that direction. So this here pointing toward your CPU. All right, and then all we have to do now is put our spacer on. Okay, and you're going to repeat this 4 times. You have a little opening here and a big opening on the other side. So you can hold the back plate if you wish, but it's on there pretty good, so it's not a big requirement to do that. Take this here, bring it up, and if you got a steady hand, which I really don't, take your screw, put it in, and you can actually hand tighten it a little bit just to get it started. And then use your screwdriver to tighten it in place. Now once you've got that tightened in place, your back plate's not going anywhere. In fact, you see how the bottom 2 ones just popped in there? Because now they're in there the way you want them to be. Alright? Don't over tighten. Alright, if you over tighten, you're going to strip them and you're going to have issues. So it's on there good now. We've cleaned everything off. This would also be a good time to clean if you wanted to upgrade your CPU, provided it works with this motherboard, to another better AM4 than the 5600. Maybe you want to go with the 5800X or a 3DX or whatever it's called. I can't remember now. 5800X 3D. Yeah, there we go. Then you could do it now. Pop that out, pop the other one back in, and still do this whole thing. So I'm going to put this bracket down here, and yeah, then I'm going to probably lay it down just to make it easier so gravity is working for me instead of against me. And yeah, so again, spacer, it should sit on there, but if it doesn't, well, you can push the back plate in, but it should sit on there. But no, it's not going to. So okay, no problem. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you here. So we're going to take our bracket, put your screw in, drop your Okay, your spacer, bigger end on this side, and do it all over again. Now I'm going to need a screwdriver. Put a bit of an angle. Make sure again this is facing up. Put your spacer over, and then you can just let go of everything and just screw it in. Alright? Don't screw it in all the way, because you want to have a little leadway to do the other side. So right there, hold it in place, put your screw in, and just go like that. Okay, once it's good and snug, you can stop. Same thing, go over the other side now, and it's fastened down. So I'm going to show you the back here just for a second. So now you can see, there's our back plate put back on, held by our new brackets. Now we're going to set it down and do everything else. Now, of course, we'll have to apply thermal paste before we put it on, and don't forget to take the plastic off your CPU cooler before you put it in. Now, before we do that, I want to show you a couple other things. So you know you have addressable RGB, and you know you have a fan. So unless you have an addressable RGB slash fan hub or something like that on the back, you're going to have a spot on your motherboard to plug it in. So look for the 3 pins. Okay, on this motherboard, it's right here. That's our addressable RGB. And for the CPU fan, it's right here. All right. So just in case you are wondering, now I can't really show you much on this motherboard. Now this is the MPG X570 from MSI Gaming Plus. Just in case you have this motherboard, and that'll help you out to know how to get it all installed. So now that that's there, we're going to lay her down and do the rest. Okay, so a couple things I want to talk about. Where you have your memory in your system, this is the side that goes toward your memory. All right. Now you have a little bit of a gap. There's no gap on the back, so that's how you know which one goes where. Now I talked about the cables. So the one that slides in here with your fan, there's another connector here. All right, so that's going to go in there. All right, so the two of those are going to go together, and of course then it's just plugging in your RGB, addressable RGB, and your fan, so your CPU fan header. Got to get it right. So on the bottom, you can see, make sure you peel this off, and these are your 2 screws. This is your mounting mechanism, and you don't even have to worry about putting it on there. It comes that way. All right. You have your 2 screws down here. I know it's kind of hard to see. So you have a screw here and one on the other side, exact same. If you put it in right, there's no problem. So it's going to go like this. All right. But we'll get to that in a second. Just a couple things. Now, if you're putting over RAM, all right, and this is interfering, so you can adjust this fan. All right, it will adjust. Okay, look at that. You don't even have to do much. It literally pulls up. I've never seen one quite like that. So now you have that much more. Now if I push it again, it'll go again and give me that much more room again. So if you have really tall memory or tall RAM, you aren't going to have a problem. Now because mine's a little high, I'm going to leave it there until I can move it back down afterward. Just to make sure I don't have any issues when I put it in, and then I can adjust it afterward. Okay, so I'm going to use the thermal paste that was supplied, and there's always arguments of which way to put it on. You do it whatever way you wish, and I'm going to do it the way I wish, which lately has been kind of like, oh, okay, that's a little more than I planned for, but okay. I like to do a little X, make sure I get everything stopped. And that's it. That's all I'm doing. That will spread quite nicely once I put the CPU cooler down against it, and everything will be fine. So talking about coolers, that fan is so easy to adjust. I'm telling you, doesn't matter how bad your memory is or whatever, it's going to be just fine. So, big thing to remember again, remove this. Don't forget. Okay? It's easy to forget. I've done it. But I'm just telling you, try not to forget. So, orientate your CPU cooler so that this is the front. Okay, your other fan goes in the middle. Okay, this is your front. The other fan goes in the middle. Orientate it so it's going to fit on here. Okay, with your screws. Okay, you're going to have to play with it a little bit. But I think every CPU cooler I've ever done, I had to do that to some extent. So once you get it lined up, it should just fit over those holes like so. And now we're just going to take our screwdriver and fasten them down. So Be Quiet does provide a screwdriver, but I like my own. Nice and long, and it has a better magnetic tip, to be quite honest. And so I'm going to start, get this in there and start going. Now make sure you do one side just a little bit, enough to feel it bite, and then move over to the other side. Okay, so you can see the two screws. Once you get them both started, then you can go back in again and just tighten them down. Okay, so that's it. Those are fastened in. Now, our fan is up. Let's push it down until we can't push it anymore. So we're just going to brace the sides, use our thumbs, and just see what we can do. When it stops, that means it's touching the memory. So we're just going to have to check that. Yeah, so I got it just above the memory. I'm just going to pop it up just ever a little bit. There. So setting there, it is set up a little bit. I don't know why it's always like that, but it is always like that. So don't forget your little cable here. Make sure you move it out of the way before you slide your other piece in. You want to have it oriented so the fans are on the outside and you're just sliding it in. Alright? And of course it will only go in one way, really. You can see it fitting over top of the screws here, and you'll hear it click in place once it's in. Alright? So we're going to plug our cables in. I already showed you where they go. I will show you how they connect. I'll set this back up, we'll show you that, and then we'll do our temps. Okay, so now we're going to go over our cables. So like I said before, you've got this little connector here, all right, and then this is from the other one. They both have a little tab. Line those up and plug them in. All right, and then you're going to plug this in where it says CPU fan, which like I showed you is right here. Alright, you have a little tab, make sure that lines up with the tab that's on the back of this, and just push it in. Before I do that though, I want to show you something. So this cable here, which is for your addressable RGB, I left it tight. I just pulled it out enough so that it would plug in and meet our addressable RGB and plug in, and then we don't have a whole bunch of cables kind of going all over the place. Right, because it's right here. Goes right there, right here, and then our CPU fan is going to go right over here. Now for some of you, this cable on top might be unsightly and you don't like it. I don't really care. It doesn't bother me. So I'm just going to leave it right there. I'm going to try and push this back a little bit. I'm not too concerned if it's sitting right on top of the memory. We're going to plug it, everything is plugged in. So now we're going to turn it on and just have a quick look, because this is supposed to light up. So let's give me a minute. Okay, time to light her up, see what we get. I'm going to turn this light off here so you can see it a little better. It doesn't distort the light too much. And there we go, you can see it lighting up right there. Look at that. Don't be alarmed if it turns off right away. That's pretty standard. Alright, I'll show you that. And again, you can control these colors as well in the system. Alright, it's pretty cool. But It's pretty cool, I say. No pun intended. Let's fire up the system and let's check those temps again and see, is it gonna work? Now, more importantly, I'm gonna put my case, my door back on and make sure that it's actually still fitting with this, because it does set up. Now, I have the T-Force Delta memory. It's very high setting memory, okay? So it sets up a lot more than most memories. So just be aware that that's why I've got it popping out a little bit. But I digress. Let's get on to the temps after we put the door on. So I did want to show you that it fits okay. There is some room still, so I'm happy with that. So just make sure that you have, if you have very tall memory, especially if it's RGB, that you have the room in your case for that extra little bit that you might have to pop the fan out. Alright, just be aware of that. Now there is one more thing I didn't put on, so I'm going to show you that in a second here, because I almost forgot. And it's just simply this plate that sets over top. So in actual fact, once you set it over top, it doesn't change the look a little bit, but just hides the screws and stuff, and actually makes this less pronounced. Alright, so again, lots of room. Let's get on to those temps. Alright, so we're going to run the system to stability test on this again. Now over here on idle, we're at 29 to 37. I don't think that's much difference than what it was before. Still at the 1%. So we're going to start the test, coming back again in about another 6 minutes, just to see how things are going, and we'll go from there. So 100% utilization right away, and you can see we're not jumping up quite the same as we were before. In fact, it's at 56. Before it was at like 80 something, so we're going to let it go and see what happens. We'll be back in 6 minutes, so in your time, just wait a second. Okay, so we're approaching the 6 minute mark quite rapidly here. And the max we got, I think, I can't see it now, it doesn't show me, but it was about 63 to 65. Now remember, before it was up to 87. So that's about a 20-degree drop in temperatures. So if you have any inkling that your system just could run better because it's running too hot, go out and get this cooler. It'll not only lower your temperatures a heck of a lot, by 20 degrees is a significant amount, but it's steady, it rocks steady. This is still at 100% utilization. Alright, we're hitting at like 6.5 minutes. I'm very pleased with all this. Alright everybody, so if you like that, give me a big old thumbs up. If you have questions, put them in the comments. Went pretty well. 20-degree difference in temperatures. That's really good. That's a lot better than I was expecting, actually. But stock cooler, as opposed to one that's geared toward giving you much better temperatures. Now, this will work with an AM5 as well, so just be aware of that. So if it'll work on this, it'll work on other AMD CPUs and Intel as well. So you've got all your bases covered. You don't have to worry about too much about figuring out what I need for AMD as opposed to Intel. They come in separate bags. I showed you the one for the AMD install, and very easy to put on. Okay, just remember the backplate, don't let it drop down. If it drops down, well, you're just gonna have to fish it out. It's not a big deal. So anyway, if you're new here, think about subscribing. Hit that bell for notifications for videos as they come up in the future. And as always, thanks for watching. You have a good one. Bye-bye.